Just a little over 5 years ago, India's aviation sector saw the entry of a large new corporate player. We're talking about Adani Enterprises. Now, 2019, the Adani Group decided to venture into the aviation sector. It set up a wholly owned subsidiary called Adani Airport Holding Limited, and through that, it has decided to foray into India's airport infrastructure sector. Today, Adani is the largest airport infrastructure company in the country. It has 8 airports under its belt, 6 through the privatization process of the government of India, and 2, that's the Mumbai International Airport that it bought out from GVK, and now the Navi Mumbai International Airport, which is all set to open for business on the 25th of December. It's rumored that the Adanis have a big expansion plan, almost amounting to $15 billion lined up for the airport business. It's also rumored that they're looking for an IPO sometime in FY27. Well, we'll try and find answers to all of those questions when we speak with Jeet Adani here on the CNBC TV 18 special. Talk to us about all things airports for the Adani Group. Joining us today is Jeet Adani. Jeet, many thanks for joining us. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
You're all set to launch the Navi Mumbai Airport on the 25th of December. Why did you choose Christmas?
No, I always wanted to be Santa.
You did? Is this your gift to the city?
Exactly. No, but on a serious note, we chose it because it's the lowest load and we wanted to have a smooth start. So, better to have a nice, smooth rolling start than to have a jerky one on the first day. And we'll be ramping up over the next month or so. Our operations, the number of flights will steadily be increasing. There's a few snags here or there which you can see when you walk in, which we also need to fix up over the next month, 45 days.
Right.
And then we'll see a full-fledged, high-intensity operation starting February onwards.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens on the 25th of December. How many flights do you start with? And between December 25th and February, which is when you expect full intensity operations, what should we expect?
So we'll start with 30 flights a day, targeting about 8 flights an hour in terms of capacity. And when we go into February, that will go up to about 24 to 30 flights an hour. So what we're doing in a day, we'll be doing in an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And foreign airlines, how many foreign airlines have committed to move operations here or add operations here to Navi Mumbai?
So one thing is that no, we don't, when we're speaking to any airline, we're not telling them to move anything. Because there's no capacity left in Mumbai. So whatever is coming in here is in Navi Mumbai is going to be additional. In terms of foreign airlines, we've spoken to most of them. And what they're saying is that they would want to see, how the connectivity shapes up over the next 3 months. And maybe during the middle of the summer schedule or the winter schedule is when they'll start ramping up. But, we are very confident, and what we are seeing with the first inaugural partners, I would say, is that they've taken up the entire capacity that we have.
Well, one of your inaugural partners, Indigo, is in trouble at this point in time. Winter schedule has to be cleared by the DGCA all over again. Is that a concern on what they had committed to you? Could that change also?
So we've already spoken to them. There's been a slight change in terms of the opening schedule, but it's not a material change.
Okay, not a material change. What has been the biggest challenge of getting this particular airport up and running? You've, of course, been leading the airport foray for the Adani Group since your foray into the sector in 2019. But specifically, as far as Navi Mumbai is concerned, what's been the biggest challenge?
Moving a mountain. This is literally moving a mountain out of the site. We had to move about 1.5 crore tons of rock. And we actually took that as an opportunity because we filled the site up, raised it by 8 meters. So from a flood protection point of view, it's now 1 in 100, P100 protections. So if there's like a 1 in 100 year event of flooding, it will still be safe to operate. And that's where we basically just put all this rock into the site again. But the mountain was there until last year. It was still, being blasted, being taken out. And that's been the largest, critical part of this project. I would say, to make this airport successful, what's going to be important is the connectivity.
Yes,
So,
because
well,
it took me an hour and a half from
exactly.
the old airport to get here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on day one, the road connectivity is quite good. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's quite good. Over the next sort of 3 to 6 months, we're going to see the opening of the Navi Mumbai Coastal Road, or the Ulve Coastal Road. That will make the road connectivity quite perfect when it comes to the western side of the site. The metro connectivity, we are seeing the plan has already been made. Now it's going into construction shortly. So there is going to be a direct connectivity from CSMIA to NMIA. And it will also interconnect with all the major metro lines in Mumbai. Water connectivity is something that will be started shortly. eVTOLs, when they come, there's also provisioning for that. So, and suburban is already on, buses are already on. So, every form of connectivity that you can think of has to be connected on day one.
Yeah, and connectivity is going to be
It's
one of
going
the
to be key to open this.
key
this
and
up.
one
Yeah.
of the big challenges for you. But, Jeet, I want to talk to you about the fact that in 2019, when you decided as a group to foray into the aviation business, it was a challenge for you individually because you were leading that, but also for the group because you had no experience in the
Absolutely.
airport business. In fact, the rules were changed to say that, look, people who don't have prior airport experience should be allowed to bid
Yeah.
for the airports, and you got 6 via the privatization route. How hard a learning curve has it been?
So, honestly speaking, it wasn't that difficult on two accounts. One is some of the basic sort of frameworks of how do you view a business between airports and ports is quite similar. That you have to sweat the asset, you have to maximize the return before investing again. You in ports you have shipping lines, key shipping lines where your customers. Here you have key airlines where your customers. The only difference is there's cargo, here there's people.
Well, there's
So that's the
cargo as
additional
well.
part.
That's a
And
significant
cargo as
part of
well,
your revenue.
obviously.
Yeah.
But how do you that customer experience part is something that we had to learn. And the other part why we didn't find it very difficult was there's no dearth of people who are, professionals, who are very, very accomplished in this field, are very knowledgeable in this field. So really the challenge was that it wasn't the decision of entering the business, but the challenge was how do we get the team up and running and integrated. And obviously the acquisition of Mumbai helped because we got a team that was ready and was already operating a major asset of the country. But then we also got in experts from airlines, from other airports across the world to come back to India. NRIs to come back to India and help us out in this journey. So I think between both of those things, it's not been very difficult to set this up. The challenge now is how do we keep getting better? How do we implement technology? Because this is something no one in the world is doing at this scale. And how do we implement that technology here? How do we develop it? And it goes down into thinking about, how passenger experiences can be improved. How can efficiency of the asset be improved? Simple things like our building management system. For years, ages, building management systems have existed. But when it comes to an airport, how do you link it with airline management, with ground handling, with retail management, with advertising, to as a whole
All
system?
of which you're now doing.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, which has also sort of put a lot of other people in a little bit of a quandary, saying that there is a conflict of interest there. How do you respond to that?
I don't see it as a conflict of interest. I see it as, there is a single person left to blame.
So you
there's
should be
no-
held accountable for
I should be
everything.
held, exactly. If anything happens at the airport, there's only two people who should be held accountable, either the airline or the airport. Airline, if anything happens once they've entered the plane, or if there's something with their check-in, and everything else is the airport that's accountable. But, from my point of view, the way I see it is, it gives us an opportunity to really stitch the passenger experience together. Until now, you had a very fragmented, because you had small operators operating certain parts of the business. So when we started, actually used to be, I used to get frustrated saying that I own the airport, but there's nothing that I can control because everything was, outsourced to some agency or the other. So now that, we've actually executed the strategy of bringing everything under a common umbrella, we are able to, one is from a revenue point of view, cross-sell and upsell much better. And then from a experience point of view, you can control everything and have a end-to-end stitched together experience. So the kind of experience you would get in a parking, or the kind of customer experience you get at parking or at a help desk is the same experience you get in a VIP lounge, because it's the same people being trained in the same mindset.
So that brings me to the question then, what part of this business are you currently not into that you want to get into? I mean, the big question is a foray into airlines the next big plan on the Adani Group's calendar?
No, absolutely not.
No?
We were legally not allowed
I know,
to.
but I know you're legally at this point in time not allowed.
Yeah.
But the government's been talking about, competition. The government's been talking about the need for a large airlines, especially in the light of what we've seen happen with Indigo.
Absolutely.
If tomorrow the opportunity were to arise, would you consider it?
I would say there's nothing that we won't consider. But as it stands today, structurally, the airline industry is not something that we see, fitting our sort of capital discipline. We're used to high margin businesses, investing in asset, and sweating that asset well. The airline is completely opposite in every.
So from a unit economics point of view, it doesn't make any sense for you,
for us. No.
For you at this point in time, or even in the future.
Yeah.
If the opportunity were to arise.
Yes.
So that's not something that you would consider.
Not at all.
Okay, so let's talk about the airport business then, Jeetan. Let's talk about financials, because you've crossed 90 million now as far as the Mumbai airport is concerned. Even if
as the platform,
even if I look at the year-on-year growth that you've seen as far as revenue from operations is concerned, there has been an uptick there as well as on EBITDA. What's the plan now in terms of expansion? It's rumored that you're putting together a $15 billion expansion plan for the airport business.
Yeah. So, I mean, the $1 billion number keeps changing, but, at least
with the currency.
Yeah. So, I'll say it in crores is, so our 5-year plan is a 1 lakh crore investment plan, which includes expansion in capacity of Navi Mumbai, refurbishment, major refurbishment in Mumbai, expansion in Ahmedabad, especially timely with the Commonwealth coming there. Expansion in Jaipur, in Lucknow. We're inaugurating Guwahati, so that's at the tail end now. And expansion at Trivandrum. So pretty much all of the assets, barring Mangaluru, is in expansion mode.
By 2030?
By 2030, yeah.
Okay.
And, from a financials point of view, we see that there's going to be two major sort of cycles. One is happening as we speak, where we'll see another jump over the next year. Then we'll see gradual growth.
Jump in passengers or jump in
revenue? Numbers, in revenue, in both.
Okay.
Because of Navi Mumbai coming in, you'll see a big jump. And there'll be gradual growth at, taking 10-15% growth every year. And then you'll see a big jump in 29. 29 will be an even bigger jump because there are a couple of things happening simultaneously. You will see large assets like Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Lucknow come online. And passenger numbers will grow quite a bit. And also that is the time where most of our city side development also comes online.
Okay.
So while the pre-leasing will be done, but the revenue numbers will start ticking in 29-30. And that will represent a massive 30 to 40% jump over the year before that. So that's how broadly over the next 5 years, the investments that we are making today are going to yield returns.
Speaking of investment, let's also talk about debt. Debt of a little over 27,000 crores at this point in time. What's the debt reduction plan?
I don't think there will be a debt reduction immediately. I think it's more changing the structure. So if you see Navi Mumbai today, it's been financed using classical project debt from Indian banks. At some point, we want to, once it's operational and stabilized, and before we begin the next phase of Navi Mumbai, we would want to refinance and take the Indian banks out because we would want to tap them again for project financing.
Okay.
And that's been our model if you look at any of the businesses. So we use Indian banks during the project life because that's the sort of appetite that they have. And then for long tenure, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 30-year debt, we tap the capital markets, either global, domestic, either one.
Well, you spoke about refinancing and you just did a refinancing of about, 750 million, I think, in June this year. What about the currency risk at this point in time? We've seen the rupee depreciate now to 91. Does that worry you?
So structurally, it doesn't affect us because we keep hedging. and we don't keep any exposure to currency. So our policy has always been that no exposure to currency, no exposure to interest rates. So whatever we refinance at, we lock that interest rate for 20 years. Whatever we refinance at in terms of currency, we lock that also for 20 years.
So the Adani Enterprises rights issue, there was buzz that perhaps you could use some of those proceeds to cut debt for the airports. Is that likely?
No,
or-
so there's some debt that Adani Enterprises has.
8,000 crores.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. So
The loan that they've given.
that AEL
Yeah.
has given to Adani Airports, that
Right.
is the part of it which will get cleaned up. Yeah.
Okay, so you will use the rights issue to clear
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
the 8,000 crore rupee.
Yeah, but that's not a
loan.
an eventual end use. The eventual end use is going to be the expansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about capital markets. So an IPO for the airport infrastructure story from India for you, when is that likely? Are you working towards it?
So absolutely, I think right now it's fluid in terms of which option to go for. There's always an option of a demerger from Adani Enterprises, which is what we had done in the past. There's also an option of IPOing. I wouldn't say we're leaning one way or the other. Also, whether to get in an anchor at the right time to establish a value benchmark.
A strategic or
Strategic anchor, someone who can, has a name in the market and is able to
in the airport business?
at the airport business. So giving the airport business itself the right value benchmark before we demerge or IPO. That's also something we're considering. But right now, I wouldn't be able to give you a firm date, but definitely over the next 2-3 years, you would see something coming up.
What would you said that there's no decision yet or no preference yet on which route you decide to take. But as you evaluate both these options, what are some of the pros and cons of both, either the demerger or the IPO?
I mean, look, demergers are something that we are used to. We've done IPOs before in the past, but what demerger allows us to do is unlock value to enterprise shareholders directly, and that's something that they also do expect. And an IPO really doesn't allow us to do that, and but it does create a lot of buzz. So so I think it's evaluating between those two, that whether we are able to push the value of the business as much as we can on day one, or we give the right return to shareholders on day one and then push the value sustainably. So I think we're leaning more towards demerger, but I would say the decision hasn't been made today.
Okay, the decision hasn't been made today, but you anticipate that call in the next
Sometime soon.